Talk to us about that, comparing the Wright brothers and Gustave Whitehead, according to your analysis.
One of the things that has convinced me that Whitehead was beyond all possible doubt the first to fly this heavier than air navigable powered aircraft was that by about 1900 the leading aeronautical experimenters had got wings which were more or less okay to get them up in the air. They weren't as effective as today's wings, but they did the job. Propeller technology had advanced enough to produce a decent propeller that would propel these aircraft. The problem was that there was not an engine light enough and powerful enough to propel these propellers and aircraft. It was the engine technology that was holding aviation back. Now, we know that Whitehead had the benefits of Lilienthal's experiments in Germany. Lilienthal was a prominent German aviation specialist and pioneer. But also, Whitehead had at his command the ability to make darn fine, strong, powerful, light engines. And when you put both of these two things together, and Whitehead was one of the very few, if not the only person, who was able to put both of the things together, you can quite see how he could have flown in 1901. He had everything going for him. Reasonable engine, reasonable propeller, reasonable wing. So that is what has convinced me that in all probability the stories about Whitehead having flown in 1901 are true. Jane's All the World's Aircraft started off in 1909, since which time we have produced exactly 100 editions. This is the 100th edition, has just been published. We missed 5 editions because of 2 world wars and various interruptions during the world wars. Jane's was begun by Fred Jane, who originally started documenting warships and then moved on to aircraft. It's a great regret to me that he wasn't around when Whitehead was doing his first experiments, because the point that I've been making in my foreword to this year's Jane's is if only Jane's were around at that time, Whitehead would have been far better documented than is actually the case, and probably we wouldn't be having this conversation now.
And did it appear to you as a conspiracy theory from the beginning?
I don't think so much conspiracy theory, although there are conspiracy theorists. One of the great things going for the Wright brothers is that they were, beyond a shadow of doubt, the most successful of the aviation pioneers. And it's natural on the part of both, of everybody really, to say, well, okay, they were the most successful, so they must have been the first, mustn't they? And that is a non sequitur.
Been quoted on quite a lot in the German press in the last few days is that there aren't really any experts on anything anymore that people just blindly trust. If people these days want to know what happened in 1901, they simply go to their laptops and read 1901 newspapers, which is pretty much what I did too.
So you just went out, kind of like you went out and gathered the research. And how many newspaper articles did you find on Gustave Whitehead, approximately?
Oh, it's almost 400 now, but during his lifetime, it's slightly more than 300 at this stage. And I've not used any pay archives. This has all been free archives that I've been using, because nobody's paying me to do any of this work. I think the conspiracy theorists are actually the ones who are opposing Whitehead. What they're saying is that we should not believe the statements under oath of 17 witnesses. We should not believe the statements of 4 different newspapers from 4 different years, all of them describing having seen a photograph of Whitehead in flight at a 1906 exhibition. This is a big conspiracy theory, and some of the things that are coming online right now, that the people that the mainstream museums are still saying is that we should just ignore all of these journalists and all of these witnesses. And it's just a huge conspiracy theory, really. All of these people are supposed to have gotten together and lied about Whitehead for years, from 1901 through 1906. It makes absolutely no sense at all.
You know, that's a really good point, John. And we're looking at your website right now. This is your website, or this is from the museum in Germany, Gustave-Whitehead.com?
That's the one that I put up a couple of days ago that about 50,000 people have visited in the last 72 hours.